Hello. Today I'm teaching grade 2's the first activity that I have created for throwing, which is hula hoop accuracy practice. Uh, Purpose and focus of this activity is to help increase grade 2's accuracy with their throws through a little bit of practice in kind of a semi-game scenario. A successful mover will look like any type of thrower, mainly at the proficient level. They will plant with their opposite throwing leg, and as they plant, they're going to turn their torso and bend their elbow at a 90-degree angle, scratching their ear with the ball, and as they throw, they create a clawing motion. Those are the cues I will be using when teaching, and that is what a successful mover should look like in this activity. Now, the activity, as you can see on the board here, I have 3 hula hoops drawn out. Hula hoops will be taped to the walls all across the gymnasium. This will allow students to be placed around the border of the gymnasium and find a spot that they like. They will be instructed to take about 3 steps back. That way it creates a little bit of distance, so they will have to move forward if they keep missing. Now, what each student does is they find their spot on the gymnasium, they take the steps back, and then when I blow a whistle, they begin throwing. Once I whistle again, everyone retrieves their balls so no one gets hit. I do understand that they are foam balls. We just want to make sure that they can understand and follow these instructions. Once that is done, the students will come back and collect, and they will explain what they found was helpful and what they didn't, and we'll discuss some questions about throwing. I would like to specifically focus on how I'm not turning this into a competitive game with the grade 2's. The goal of this activity is to hit the hula hoop or inside the hula hoop as many times in a row as you can. I do not want to create a competitive scenario with other students where a student may feel bad because they are just beginning throwing and they do need to increase their confidence. That is my activity, and I hope that there are no questions. Today, I am teaching grade 4's the Pass Challenge activity. The purpose and focus of this activity is to have students focus on how they're catching and the movement associated with catching, but turning it into a fun little mini game. A successful mover will be a student who is in an athletic position, which means legs shoulder width apart, and slightly crouched down with a bend in their knees. This allows for better movement and will help students catch the ball easier if there is a bit of a miss throw. Now, their hand placement is also something that should be focused on. If they're catching from above, they should be using a cushion method. If the ball is coming straight towards them, they should be using the triangle method or just clasping around the sides of the ball. So, the activity. What students will do is they will be paired up into 2 people across from each other in the gymnasium. Each one will have a foam ball. Here's the little drawing of the ball they have. Now, the goal of the game is to find where you consistently sit while throwing. So, both people will be standing and you will pass the ball back and forth. If both of you catch the ball, you take 1 step back from each other. If one of you drops the ball and the other catches it, for example, let's say top person does not catch the ball but the bottom does, the top person takes a step to the left while the bottom person takes a step to the right. Now, if both people fail to catch the ball, so 2 X's here, they have to reset. So that means they will come to 3 paces apart from each other, and they will have to restart the activity, essentially. Now, the goal is to get as far away from each other as possible and still be able to catch the balls. Now, safety issues with this could arise when students end up crossing paths, a group of students ends up bumping into each other while doing this activity. We should have enough room in the gymnasium for this, but there is a possibility that we don't have enough room. In that case, we'll have people sit on and off the court during this, which is unfortunate, but it is for safety reasons. Now I'd like everyone to go and grab their foam balls and to group up in pairs of twos and find a spot in the gymnasium so we can start the activity. I'm teaching the third grade 6 activity, which focuses around dodging and is titled Dodging Line. So the purpose and focus of this activity is to have the dodging student focused on multiple spaces at once. There will be multiple balls thrown at them, and the whole purpose of this activity is to have them become tactically aware of where they need to begin moving and how to dodge. A successful mover will be a dodger who is low to the ground in an athletic position. They'll be shifting their head around. Their head will be on a swivel. They will be able to gather in data from all over the court, and it will help the student figure out where to dodge, how to dodge, and if certain balls being thrown at them are threats or not. Now, the activity, Dodging Line, will have the class split in 2 teams of 10, and there will be 9 people per thrower team and 1 on the dodging team. So I will draw a diagram of what the court should look like. There will be a central area that the students will be placed in. 1 dodger will be in the center, and you will have the rest of the students, the 9, placed around the court like this. 5 along the bottom, 2 on each side. Now, each thrower is going to get a ball, and their job is to hit the dodger. The dodger here, who we're focusing on, wants to be able to dodge all the balls. I'll blow a whistle, which will announce to the throwers that they can throw. Now, they don't have to throw right at the whistle. It is recommended that they take 4 to 5 seconds. I will blow my whistle twice. Once, and then 5 seconds later I will blow it again, which means you can't throw anymore. Then they will cycle. The dodger should be aware of how many times they are hit and just keep track of it. They can compare it to their friends if they'd like, or they can just keep that to themselves. So the way this is going to cycle through is the balls will be thrown. I will blow my whistle. The people who need to go and get balls are the dodger and the rest of the people who are throwing. This is because the dodger is going to cycle out over here while these students cycle down, these students cycle over one, and this student cycles up one, while the top student here cycles into the dodging pit. That is how the flow of this activity will go. If there are any issues, just have a student come to you to ask the question, ask me if you students need anything, and let's get dodging. If everyone can go and grab a foam ball for me, please. The activity I'm teaching is for grade 9s. We're covering Skill 4, Strategy and Tactics, and the activity is titled Strategy Formation. The purpose and focus of this activity is to have grade 9s form strategies around the game of dodgeball and utilize them in the game. It is a 3-day activity, which I will get into when we cover the description of it. A successful mover will look like someone who communicates well with their team, is able to point out when things should be changed, when people should be listened to. They allow everyone to speak. General leadership qualities. Another good one is for students to listen to whoever's speaking, hear them out, suggest changes, all around just working well as a team. Now, the description of this activity comes in 3 parts, day 1, day 2, and day 3. Day 1 is when students are split up in teams of 5. Now, each team will be given as many pads of paper as they need, but the whole goal of that day, day 1, is for students to come up with at least 3 solid strategies or tactics they can use in a game. So for example, having people who are good at catching balls up on the front line, while having people who are very good at throwing in the back, or having a special move where all of them throw a ball at once. Now, after day 1, they hand in their sheets of paper, and we go to day 2, which is the round robin. Now, I'm going to draw a little diagram on the board here of the round robin and how it would look. So you have Team A, Team B, Team C, and Team D here. Now, this comes down, goes across. Oh, shoot, here we go. Team A, B, C, and D. So the teams will not be playing themselves, so you just cross those out. But Team A will play Team B to start. Team C will play Team D to start. This can be done either on a full court of dodgeball, or you can utilize the gym to have them all play each other as often as possible by splitting the gym into quarters, one for each team. So I'm just going to fill this in as if the teams had played. So let's say A beats B. You give A a check mark here because this is the team playing the team. B would get an X over A. Say A loses to C. You put a check mark for A for C, and so on and so forth. Now, what the round robin does is it allows students to test their strategies and the formations they build for the game. They're able to adjust them. The teams should be given their pad of paper on day 2 as well back, so they can modify it or add more strategies to it, and you get more evidence of it. And then lastly, day 3, which is the bracket. The bracket is very important because it teaches more of a sport-like procedure of the activity. The teams will be placed in a bracket based off of how they did and how they were working as a team. So I'll just draw a little bracket down here. Okay, so say we make Team A go up against Team D, and Team B go up against Team C. Now, the teams will play each other. It is suggested that you do this on the full court so the other teams can watch, formulate strategies and whatnot, and also create kind of a sports scenario where you have people cheering on the other teams. So for example, B and C would watch A and D play. Now players would pick who they want to cheer for and whatnot. It is suggested that they also cheer heavily for them. Let's say A loses and they get knocked down to the 3rd place bracket. So D would go here, and B, let's say B loses that one as well and C moves on. So then these 2 teams will play for the final match. Then you create the 2nd bracket for 3rd place. So you would put A and B here, and they would play for 3rd place, and 3rd place would be announced. So let's say A wins. B's crossed off, and A is put in 3rd place. Then you have all of the students pick a side to cheer for that aren't on Team D and C. Then you would let D and C play, and the winner would be announced. 1st and 2nd place would be announced and everything. So D doesn't win, C wins the entire thing. C would get 1st place, D would get 2nd, A would get 3rd, B would get 4th. Now, the point of this is to show a sports structured way of teaching. A good thing to do after this entire tournament is to bring students into a talking circle or have them talk amongst their team about what could have been done differently. They're able to reflect on how they worked as a team, how the strategies worked, if there should have been changes done with this activity to help them out. So I would like everyone to grab a pad and paper, and get ready to start formulating strategies. I am teaching the grade 12 activity based around skill number 4, strategy and tactics. The activity title is skill adaptation. The purpose and focus of this activity is to have students adapt while playing a game, changing strategies, focusing on the weaknesses of the opposing team while increasing their strengths and utilizing those. A successful mover in this activity is someone who's able to communicate effectively with their team, not just barking orders, telling people where to be, where to go, but being helpful in the sense as also receiving those orders and pointing out where certain people should be strength-wise and why they should be there. You don't want to force people into a position they don't want to be in, but you also want to use strengths to your advantage in this. So the description of the activity is that every student will be broken off into a team of 5, creating 4 teams. As you can see drawn on the board here, the gymnasium will be split into quarters. This will give each team a section to play in, so there will not be a lot of sitting down. Students will be playing each team in this activity in a round-robin style, best 2 out of 3. Winners will be announced after, and then there will be a talking circle. In the talking circle, we will discuss what could have been done differently for this activity and how well the students adapted. The safety of this activity isn't very concerning. There isn't any issues with safety. The main thing is, if students do need a break, they will be allowed a break. It is a lot of physical activity to be playing a lot of shorter games of dodgeball in that span of time. However, this will also play into the skill adaptation on how they need to be able to utilize what resources they have at the time to overcome the opposing team. Now, if everyone can go and grab me a dodgeball and help split you guys up into 4 teams, that will be very helpful.